The most dangerous enemy you'll ever face isn't another person. It's everything that steals your focus without you even noticing. Most people spend their lives looking for something to blame. They blame bad luck. They blame difficult circumstances. They blame the people around them. They blame the timing. They blame the opportunities they never received. But very few people stop long enough to ask a different question. What if the real enemy has been inside my own mind all along? Think about how many times you've started something with excitement only to lose interest a few days later. Think about how often you've promised yourself that this time would be different only to find yourself drifting away from the path you wanted to follow. It rarely happens because you aren't capable. It happens because your attention slowly slips away one small distraction at a time. Focus is rarely stolen all at once. It disappears quietly. A little comfort here, a little hesitation there, one unnecessary thought, one emotional reaction, one excuse that sounds reasonable in the moment. None of these feel dangerous by themselves, but together they slowly reshape your life without asking for your permission. That is why so many people stay busy, but never move forward. They confuse movement with progress. They confuse effort with direction. They fill every day with activity. Yet almost nothing brings them closer to the person they want to become. Machiavelli understood something that many people still overlook today. Before you can influence the world around you, you must first become impossible for the world to influence without your permission. Real power does not begin with controlling other people. It begins with controlling your own attention, your emotions, your choices, and your ability to stay committed when everything around you is trying to pull you somewhere else. Dangerous focus is not about becoming obsessed with success. It is not about working every waking hour or shutting yourself away from life. It is about developing the discipline to recognize what truly deserves your time and having the courage to ignore everything that does not. Most people protect their money. Some people protect their reputation. Very few protect the one thing that decides the quality of everything else, their attention. Once your attention is scattered, your energy follows. Once your energy is scattered, your progress slows. And once your progress slows, doubt quietly takes its place. The 7 ruthless rules you are about to learn are not motivational slogans. They are psychological principles inspired by Machiavelli's understanding of discipline, strategy, and human nature. Each one is designed to help you strengthen your mind, sharpen your decisions, eliminate what weakens you, and build a level of focus that refuses to break under pressure. By the end of this video, you won't simply understand why focus matters. You'll understand how to protect it, strengthen it, and use it as your greatest advantage. Before we begin, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My mind leads. Let's begin. Rule 1. Guard your attention like your greatest asset. If there is one thing you should begin protecting today, it is not your time. It is not your money. It is not even your reputation. It is your attention. Because wherever your attention goes, your life quietly follows. Most people never stop to think about this. They believe success is built by doing more. But Machiavelli understood that power begins with choosing what deserves your mind and refusing to give it away carelessly. Imagine carrying a bucket of water across a long desert. If the bucket has tiny holes, you may not notice them at first. A few drops fall here, a few more there. The loss seems small, but by the time you reach your destination, the bucket is nearly empty. Your attention works the same way. It is rarely destroyed by one major event. It disappears through hundreds of small moments that seem harmless on their own. That is why focus is never an accident. It is always the result of protection. There is an old proverb that says, "He who chases 2 rabbits catches neither." This simple saying has survived for generations because it reflects a truth about human nature. Picture a hunter running after one rabbit, then suddenly changing direction because another one looks easier to catch. Every time he changes course, he loses ground. Eventually, both rabbits disappear and he returns home with nothing. Many people live exactly like that hunter. They begin learning one skill, then abandon it for another. They start one goal, then suddenly decide something else looks more exciting. Every new direction feels promising, but none receive enough time or commitment to produce real results. The problem is not a lack of ability. The problem is divided attention. A focused mind grows stronger because it stays with one direction long enough to produce something meaningful. Every great achievement begins with the simple decision to remain where your attention belongs. This also means learning to become selective. Not that every opinion deserves space in your mind. Not every conversation deserves your energy. Not every opportunity deserves your effort. Wisdom is not measured by how many things you accept. It is measured by how many things you confidently refuse. Think about a sculptor standing in front of a block of stone. He does not create a masterpiece by adding more stone. He creates it by removing everything that does not belong. Your attention works the same way. A clear mind is built through careful removal, not endless addition. People often believe that protecting their attention means making life smaller. The opposite is true. When you stop scattering your energy in every direction, the things that truly matter begin to receive your full strength. Your decisions become clearer. Your thinking becomes sharper. Your actions become more deliberate. You stop living by accident and start living with intention. Machiavelli believed that those who cannot govern themselves will always struggle to influence anything beyond themselves. The first step towards self-government is deciding who controls your attention. If every passing distraction can pull your mind away, then your direction is no longer your own. But when you choose where your attention stays, you begin to take back control of your future. Remember this, your attention is your most valuable investment. Spend it wisely because every day you are building something with it. Whether you realize it or not, the quality of that future depends on what you choose to focus on today. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I guard my focus. Rule 2, master yourself before you chase success. Everyone wants to achieve something meaningful. They dream about becoming stronger, wiser, more capable, and more respected. But very few people. Ask the question that comes before every great achievement. Have I learned to lead myself? That question changes everything. Most people believe success is something waiting for them in the future. Machiavelli saw it differently. He believed that before you can direct events, you must first learn to direct yourself. A person who cannot control his own actions will eventually lose control. When life becomes difficult, this is where self-mastery begins. It begins on the days when you don't feel inspired. It begins when the work feels ordinary. It begins when nobody is watching. Anyone can move forward. When excitement is high, the real test comes when excitement disappears and only discipline remains. Think about an archer preparing to hit a distant target. He does not simply pull the bowstring and hope for the best. He plants his feet firmly. He steadies his breathing. He keeps his hands still. Every small movement is under control before the arrow ever leaves the bow. Your life works the same way. Your results are only as steady as the person creating them. Many people spend years searching for the perfect moment to begin. They wait until they feel more confident. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until everything seems easier. But readiness is not something that suddenly appears. It is something you create through repeated action. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your character. Every promise you break quietly weakens it. That is why self-discipline is not really about forcing yourself to suffer. It is about becoming someone who trusts his own word. Imagine making one simple promise to yourself. I will finish what I start. At first it sounds easy. Then a difficult day arrives. Your energy drops. Doubt begins to whisper. Suddenly that small promise becomes a test of identity. Do you keep your word or do you negotiate with yourself? The answer matters more than you think. Each decision teaches your mind what kind of person you are. If you repeatedly walk away from your own commitments, your confidence slowly fades. Not because someone else took it from you, but because your mind remembers every unfinished promise. On the other hand, every time you continue despite discomfort, you send yourself a different message. I can rely on myself. That belief becomes incredibly powerful. A 1,000-mile journey is never completed in one leap. It is completed through countless ordinary steps taken in the same direction. None of those individual steps seem remarkable. Yet together they carry a person farther than he ever imagined possible. Self-mastery works exactly the same way. You do not become disciplined because of one extraordinary decision. You become disciplined because you repeatedly choose the next right action even when nobody celebrates it. Machiavelli understood that consistency creates strength. The person who governs himself does not depend on changing emotions. He depends on clear principles. His actions are guided by decisions already made, not by temporary moods. This is why routines matter. They remove unnecessary hesitation. Instead of asking yourself every day whether you feel like moving forward, you simply continue because it is part of who you have chosen to become. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like effort. It becomes your nature. That transformation is what separates those who constantly restart from those who steadily advance. One waits for the perfect feeling. The other builds a dependable character. Remember, chasing success without mastering yourself is like trying to build a house on shifting sand. No matter how impressive it looks at first, it will eventually collapse under pressure. But when your character is strong, every future achievement rests on a solid foundation that cannot be easily shaken. Before you try to conquer the world, conquer the habits, choices, and decisions that shape your own life every single day. Once you master yourself, success stops feeling like luck. It becomes the natural result of the person you have become. Rule 3: Stop reacting to everything. One of the easiest ways to lose control of your life is to let every situation decide how you feel and how you act. A single harsh word can ruin someone's entire day. One unexpected problem can make them abandon everything that they plan to do. A small disappointment becomes a reason to quit. They are not making decisions anymore. They are simply following whatever emotion happens to appear first. Machiavelli believed that a person who cannot govern his emotions will eventually be governed by his circumstances. That is why emotional control is not about pretending you never feel anger, frustration, or fear. Those emotions are part of being human. The real question is what happens after they appear. Do they become your master or do they become information that helps you make a better decision? There is an important difference between feeling something and obeying it. Imagine standing beside a river after heavy rain. The current is moving fast. If you jump into the middle without thinking, the water decides where you go. But if you stay on solid ground and study the current first, you choose the safest place to cross. Your emotions work in much the same way. Strong feelings create movement, but movement is not always the right direction. Wise people pause before they act. That pause may last only a few seconds, but it changes everything. It gives the mind time to separate facts from assumptions. It allows judgment to replace impulse. It prevents small problems from becoming lasting regrets. There is an old proverb that says, "A soft answer turns away wrath." At first, this sounds like simple advice about speaking kindly. But its meaning goes much deeper. When someone answers anger with more anger, the situation usually becomes worse. Each person adds more heat until neither one is thinking clearly. But the person who remains calm changes the direction of the conversation. His steady response interrupts the cycle instead of feeding it. The proverb reminds us that strength is often quiet. The loudest reaction is rarely the wisest one. This lesson applies far beyond conversations. Life will present moments that test your patience. Some events will arrive without warning. Others will challenge your confidence. In those moments, your first feeling is not your final decision. You always have another choice. You can stop. You can think. Then you can act. That simple sequence has protected countless people from making choices they later wished that they could take back. Notice how experienced sailors behave during a storm. They do not panic because the waves become larger. They focus on what they can still control. They adjust the sails. They hold the wheel firmly. They make careful decisions instead of emotional ones. The storm may be beyond their control, but their response is not. Your life will have storms as well. Pressure is unavoidable. Unexpected setbacks are unavoidable. Difficult people are unavoidable. But losing control of yourself is not unavoidable. That remains your decision. Machiavelli understood that people often reveal their greatest weakness when they react too quickly. Impulsive actions expose fear, pride, insecurity, and poor judgment. Calm actions reveal confidence, patience, and inner strength. The person who thinks before responding becomes much harder to influence because his choices come from reason rather than emotion. Over time, this habit transforms the way you face every challenge. Instead of being pushed from one feeling to another, you become the one choosing your direction. Your mind grows quieter. Your judgment grows sharper. You waste less energy on temporary frustrations and invest more energy in meaningful action. Remember, power is not measured by how loudly you respond. It is measured by how completely you remain in command of yourself when everyone else is losing theirs. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose calm. Rule 4. Cut off everything that weakens your focus. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that progress is not only about what you choose to keep. It is also about what you decide to leave behind. Many people believe success comes from constantly adding more. More knowledge, more plans, more goals, more responsibilities, more things to think about. But Machiavelli understood that strength often comes from subtraction before addition. A sword is not powerful because extra metal is attached to it. It becomes powerful because everything unnecessary has been removed until only a sharp edge remains. Your life follows the same principle. Every unnecessary burden demands a portion of your energy. A habit that serves no purpose. A routine that no longer helps you grow. A commitment that quietly drains your enthusiasm. None of these may seem dangerous on their own, but together they make your path heavier than it needs to be. Imagine preparing for a long climb up a mountain. You pack your bag with everything you think you might need. At first, carrying it feels manageable. But as the climb becomes steeper, every extra pound begins to matter. Eventually, you stop to look inside your bag and discover that half of what you are carrying was never necessary in the first place. The mountain did not become harder. Your load became heavier. Life works exactly like that. Sometimes the greatest improvement comes from asking one simple question. What am I carrying that no longer belongs in my future? That question requires honesty. Not everything that was useful yesterday deserves a place in tomorrow. Some routines once helped you, but now they keep you standing still. Some environments once felt familiar, but now they encourage you to settle for less than you are capable of becoming. Some daily choices quietly steal your strength without announcing themselves. The difficult part is that these things rarely disappear on their own. You must decide to remove them. That decision is uncomfortable because letting go often feels like losing something. In reality, you are creating space for something better. Think about a gardener caring for a healthy tree. Every season he cuts away dead branches. At first glance, that it looks destructive. Someone who knows nothing about gardening might wonder why he is removing parts of a living tree. But the gardener understands something important. Those lifeless branches consume resources without producing new growth. By removing them, he allows the tree to become healthier, stronger, and more productive. Your life needs that same kind of careful pruning. Growth is not just about planting new seeds. It is also about removing what prevents healthy growth. Machiavelli believed that clear judgment requires the courage to make difficult decisions. That includes saying no when something no longer supports your purpose. Every meaningful goal demands sacrifice. You cannot give your full effort to everything at once. Every choice automatically closes the door on another possibility. This is why successful people are often extremely selective. Not because they dislike opportunities, but because they understand the price of divided energy. They know that every unnecessary commitment weakens the attention needed for what truly matters. There is freedom in simplicity. A clear path allows confident steps. A crowded path creates hesitation. When your life becomes filled with things that do not deserve your effort, your mind becomes crowded as well. Decisions become harder. Progress becomes slower. Even small tasks begin to feel exhausting because your energy is constantly being pulled in different directions. Removing unnecessary weight changes that your thinking becomes cleaner. Your priorities become obvious. Your actions become intentional. Instead of feeling stretched in every direction, you begin moving with purpose. Remember, that every no you give to something that weakens you is actually a yes to the future you are trying to build. Protecting your focus sometimes requires difficult choices. But those choices make everything that follows stronger. The path ahead becomes clearer, not because life becomes easier, but because you finally stopped carrying what was never meant to come with you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I release the weight. Rule 5, never let comfort make you weak. Comfort is one of the few things that can slowly weaken a person without causing any immediate pain. That is what makes it dangerous. When something hurts, you notice it. When something is difficult, you prepare for it. But comfort rarely announces itself as a problem. It arrives quietly. It whispers that there is always another day. It tells you that taking the easier path just this once will not matter. Then just this once becomes a habit. And habits shape character. Machiavelli understood that people rarely lose their strength overnight. They lose it little by little through small decisions that seem harmless in the moment. Every time you choose the easier path instead of the necessary one, you teach yourself a lesson. You teach yourself that comfort is more important than growth. The danger is not in resting. Rest is necessary. The danger begins when comfort becomes your permanent destination. Instead of a temporary stop along the journey. Think about a blacksmith creating a sword. The steel is placed into intense heat. It is struck again and again by the hammer. Then it is cooled before returning to the fire once more. To someone who does not understand the process, it looks harsh. It almost seems cruel. But without that pressure, the metal remains weak. It never becomes the blade it was meant to be. People are not very different. Character is strengthened through challenge. Confidence grows by facing difficult moments, not by avoiding them. Each time you willingly step towards something demanding, you quietly become more capable than you were yesterday. There is an old proverb that says, "Smooth seas do not make skillful sailors." This proverb has survived for generations because it reflects one of life's greatest truths. A sailor who spends every day on perfectly calm water never learns how to guide a ship through powerful waves. He may feel experienced, but his confidence has never been tested. The first real storm exposes what comfort has hidden. Life works the same way. Easy days can be enjoyable, but they rarely transform you. It is the difficult seasons that teach patience. It is the demanding moments that sharpen judgment. It is the uncomfortable choices that reveal what kind of person you are becoming. That is why you should never fear challenges. You should fear becoming too comfortable. Comfort often convinces people they have already done enough. Growth quietly stops even though life continues moving forward. Days begin to look the same. Effort becomes smaller. Standards become lower. Little by little, potential is exchanged for convenience. The strongest people refuse to let that happen. They choose the harder conversation with themselves. They choose the extra effort when nobody expects it. They choose to improve a little more even after reaching a place where many others would stop. Not because they enjoy struggle but because they understand what struggle produces. Machiavelli believed that fortune favors those who prepare themselves before opportunity arrives. Preparation is impossible if comfort always wins the argument. When opportunity finally appears, the person who has spent years choosing the easier path is rarely ready to seize it. The person who embraced discipline, however, steps forward with confidence because he has already trained himself through countless small acts of courage. This is an important difference. Real strength is not built during moments of celebration. It is built during ordinary days when nobody is watching, when no reward is guaranteed, and when every excuse seems reasonable. Those quiet decisions become your foundation. Over time, what once felt difficult begins to feel natural. What once seemed impossible becomes familiar. The discomfort that frightened you yesterday becomes the source of your confidence tomorrow. Remember this. Whenever life offers you an easy escape, ask yourself whether that choice is protecting your peace or quietly limiting your potential. One gives you recovery, the other steals your future. Choose the path that helps you grow even when it demands more from you. Temporary comfort fades quickly, but the strength you build by overcoming difficulty stays with you for the rest of your life. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose growth. Rule 6, think beyond today. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that today's results tell the whole story. They work hard for a short time. They expect immediate progress. When they don't see visible change, they begin to question themselves. Soon they abandon the very path that could have transformed their lives. Machiavelli understood that lasting success belongs to those who think farther ahead than everyone else. While others become trapped by what is happening today, the wise person quietly prepares for what is coming tomorrow. That is the difference between reacting to the present and building the future. Many people confuse speed with progress. Moving quickly can feel productive, but speed alone means very little if you are heading in the wrong direction. A person who rushes without purpose often ends up farther away from his destination than the one who walks steadily with a clear direction. There is an old proverb that says, Rome wasn't built in a day. This proverb is much more than a lesson about history. It is a reminder that anything truly valuable requires patience, consistency, and time. Think about the city of Rome. It became one of the greatest civilizations in history. Not because everything happened overnight, but because countless people laid one stone after another over many years. Each small effort looked insignificant on its own. Yet, together they created something extraordinary. Your life follows that same principle. Every good decision is another stone. Every lesson learned is another stone. Every disciplined action is another stone. Most people give up because they judge the building while only a few stones have been placed. They fail to realize that remarkable achievements are almost always invisible in the beginning. Think about planting an oak tree. After placing the seed into the ground, nothing impressive seems to happen. Days pass, weeks pass, the surface appears unchanged. Someone without patience might assume the seed has failed. But beneath the soil, something important is happening. Roots are spreading. The foundation is growing stronger. The tree is preparing for the height it will reach in the future. Human growth often works the same way. Some of your greatest progress cannot be seen immediately. It is taking place beneath the surface in your judgment, your discipline, your confidence, and your ability to remain committed. Machiavelli admired people who prepared themselves long before opportunity appeared. He knew that fortune often rewards those who have quietly developed their abilities while everyone else was waiting for perfect conditions. This is why patience should never be mistaken for passivity. Patience is active. It means continuing your work even when recognition has not arrived. It means trusting your direction even when visible rewards are still far away. It means believing that today's effort has value even if today's results seem small. The people who accomplish remarkable things are rarely the ones who expect instant victories. They are the ones who continue placing one stone after another while others become discouraged and walk away. Eventually, those small efforts begin to connect. The skills become stronger. The decisions become wiser. The results become impossible to ignore. By then, people often call it overnight success. What they never saw were the countless quiet days that made it possible. Remember, your future is not created by one dramatic moment. It is shaped by the choices you make over and over again when nobody is keeping score. Stay committed to the path even when progress feels slow. Time has a remarkable way of rewarding those who refuse to abandon their purpose too soon. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I build patiently. Rule 7, become impossible to break. Sooner or later, life tests everyone. No one is given a path without obstacles. No one escapes disappointment forever. There will be moments when your plans fall apart. Moments when your confidence is shaken. Moments when you question whether you are strong enough to continue. The question is not whether those moments will come. The real question is this. What kind of person will you become because of them? Machiavelli understood that difficult times reveal what comfortable times often hide. When life becomes uncertain, appearances disappear. Excuses lose their value. What remains is the strength of your character. Many people believe mental toughness means never feeling fear, sadness, or uncertainty. It doesn't. An unbreakable mind is not a mind without emotion. It is a mind that refuses to surrender because of emotion. Imagine a tall oak tree standing in the middle of an open field. Every year, powerful storms arrive. Heavy rain falls. Strong winds shake every branch. Smaller trees nearby snap under the pressure, but the oak remains standing. Why? Not because the storm was gentle. Not because the tree avoided hardship. It survived because its roots had grown deep long before the storm appeared. People often admire someone who remains calm during difficult seasons, but they rarely see the years spent building that inner strength. Every challenge faced with courage becomes another root beneath the surface. Every setback overcome makes the foundation stronger than before. This is why failure should never become your identity. It is only an experience. A single chapter cannot describe an entire story. Many people stop after one painful disappointment because they believe that one outcome defines their future. But history tells a different story. Almost every remarkable person has walked through seasons of uncertainty before reaching lasting success. The difference is not talent. The difference is persistence. When one path closed, they searched for another. When one attempt failed, they learned instead of giving up. When life became difficult, they became wiser instead of becoming bitter. That is resilience. Machiavelli admired adaptability because he knew that circumstances change constantly. A rigid person breaks when conditions shift. A resilient person adjusts without abandoning his purpose. He bends when necessary, but he never loses sight of where he is going. Think about a river flowing toward the ocean. When a large rock blocks its path, the river does not stop flowing. It does not waste its strength trying to destroy the obstacle. Instead, it calmly moves around it. Day after day, it continues forward until it reaches its destination. That is real strength, not endless force. Steady persistence. Life will place obstacles in front of you as well. Some will delay you. Some will disappoint you. Some will teach painful lessons you never wanted to learn. But none of them have the power to define you unless you decide to stop moving. Every difficult season leaves you with two choices. You can allow hardship to convince you that you are weaker than you thought, or you can allow it to prove that you are far stronger than you ever imagined. The strongest people choose the second path. They stop asking, why is this happening to me? Instead, they ask, what is this teaching me? That single change in perspective transforms every challenge into preparation for something greater. Eventually, you reach a point where difficulties no longer frighten you the way they once did. Not because life has become easier, but because you have become stronger. You trust yourself to handle uncertainty. You trust yourself to recover. You trust yourself to keep walking even when the destination is still out of sight. That is the kind of strength Machiavelli respected most. Not power over other people, power over yourself. Because the person who refuses to be broken cannot be easily defeated. Circumstances may slow him down. They may test his patience. They may force him to change his approach. But they can never take away his determination to continue. And that is what makes him truly dangerous. You've probably noticed something as we move through these 7 ruthless rules. None of them promised an easy life. None of them relied on luck. And none of them depended on changing other people. Every lesson pointed back to the same place. You, your attention, your discipline, your choices, your resilience. That is where real power begins. Machiavelli understood that the strongest person in the room is not always the loudest or the most admired. It is the person who can stay committed when others become distracted, remain calm when others lose control, keep moving when others give up, and continue building even when no one is watching. That kind of focus is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes a powerful advantage. The world will always offer reasons to lose your direction. There will always be easier paths, temporary pleasures, and moments that tempt you to settle for less than you are capable of becoming. Don't accept them. Protect your attention. Lead yourself with discipline. Think before you react. Remove what weakens you. Choose growth over comfort. Keep building with patience. And no matter what happens, refuse to let life break your spirit. If these lessons challenge the way you think, take a moment to support the channel. Leave a like, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more videos on Machiavelli's psychology and timeless strategies for mastering yourself. Your support helps this community continue to grow, and I truly appreciate every one of you who watches until the end. Before you leave, I want you to remember one final truth. Focus is not something you find. It is something you protect. Strength is not something you are born with. It is something you build. And the future you want is not created by one extraordinary decision. It is created by the ordinary choices you make every single day. The world is full of distractions. But very few people have the discipline to stay focused. Become one of those few, because the biggest obstacle standing in your way was never the world. It was always the part of your mind that believed you couldn't take control. Now you know better. So protect your focus, master yourself, and keep moving forward. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. Nothing stops me.